Hello, my friends. Welcome to End Times Analysis. I'm Pastor Jeff. Get a cup of coffee, take a seat, and let us reason together. We are continue looking at Ezekiel 38, 11, and we're going to try to get to 12, but right, like I said, there are so much good things in these scriptures. It's hard to go down. So I know we're going to get 11, and let's see where we end up. I'm going to read out of the New King James Version, 38:11. And thou shalt go, and thou shalt say, I will go to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. What Gog is thinking is, this is going to be easy. I'm going against people who are not defended. They're not ready. What I'm thinking more and more is that they didn't expect it. There was something that had to happen that made them feel safe and secure. I don't believe it is the Antichrist 7-year treaty or the Hutna that we're going to talk about later on. I don't believe this is it. I believe maybe some UN mandate, maybe the EU, United States, have somehow guaranteed something. I don't know. But we do know that that when God looks down, he is seeing, oh, these people are, I can move in. They are unprotected. Now, what we're also going to be looking at, where he says, you and those people, we're going to talk about God, we're talking about a major coalition. What would have to happen to bring the Islamic Sunni Shia coalition? These groups are traditional adversaries. Iran, Persia, right now is the power of the Fertile Crescent. Iraq is Shia majority. Syria, Alawites are in charge. Lebanon, the Shia militia Hezbollah, Party of God. Many analysts, political and military, say they are the strongest force in that country. But a lot of the countries in the coalition are Sunni. How are these different groups being brought together? And once together, trust must be developed. Any relationship without trust is like a car without gas. You can stay in it, but it's not going anywhere. Now, I know a lot of people are talking about the BRICS right now, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Like I said before, this is not the Gog coalition. Right now, China is the leading BRICS state, followed closely by India. The Gog coalition seems to be led by Russia, if you believe the traditional, which I do. But let's look at how the BRICS is bringing together different countries. And some of these countries are very interesting. Remember, when you come together in a coalition, you have to have trust. Does this person have my back? Will this person, if I go in and I'm their ally, will they support me and my goals as much as I'm supporting them? Argentina, a major food producer, and could be one of the richest countries in the world, but for political reasons, always seems to be in trouble. Egypt, between Put, which is Libya, which is Sunni, and Kush, Sudan, and Ethiopia. These areas, where exactly is Kush? We know it's in Sudan, but does it come down into Ethiopia? I believe so. And Kush is, once again, Sunni. Iran, which we call Persia, and we're talking about, now remember the old Persian Empire. We talked about Iraq, we talked about Syria, we talked about Lebanon. They were all one time part of the Persian Empire. So could these areas be included? And plus, like I said, right now, Shia is the power in all three of those areas. Saudi Arabia, not part of the coalition, and the site of the first two most holiest sites of Islam, and the United Arab Emirates, a very rich, powerful oil country, part of OPEC. And all these are coming together and now coming into the BRICS. These new countries have joined the BRICS, and like I said, some are very interesting. I'd like to talk a little bit about Ethiopia. Ethiopia could be part of Kush. Ethiopia, once a close ally of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union and Cuba even supported Ethiopia in what they call the Ogden War, which was against Somalia over the Ogden Desert. Iran, Persia, now being brought closer together because of sanctions on Russia. Russia looking for friends, looking for allies. Russia considered itself a European nation. But since the time of the czars, Europe has always considered Russia a pill too big to swallow. So Russia has always been, yeah, you're there, you're right beside us, but really, we don't consider you part of it. Look at even how the way back when the Kaiser of Germany and then I guess the Kaiser of Austria, Franz Joseph and Kaiser Wilhelm, and even back war, how they looked and talked about Russia. They were looking at pan-Germanism throughout that area, and they always considered the Russia as an obstacle to that. So even as far back as the early German Empire and the Austrian Empire, they've always seen Russia as a threat. They've always been like that border area that kept Russia out. And remember what England said about NATO is to keep the Germans down, the Americans in, and the Russians out. That's an old thing that they said. I believe they said it. It does sound very logical because that's what it has done. So Europe has always looked for buffer areas to keep the Russians out on the outside. Russia may consider itself a European state, but Europe has shown time and time again through invasions, through economics, through other things of being kind of ostracized on the outside, that Russia is not quite as welcome as Russia would like to be. Now, we're looking at Egypt. Egypt was one time a very good ally of the Soviet Union under Nasser, under Anwar Sadat. They broke off and broke away. Anwar took a Western turn and even signed a peace treaty with Israel. Uh, and of course, Egypt has to be transversed. You have Put over here, you have Kush down here. The country that's in between is Egypt. Most countries do not like large armies transversing through them. Hey, we're gonna march. We're gonna march a huge army through your territory. Sure, no problem. Let's have a little party here. Let put, as the British would say, let me put a kettle on. Usually doesn't happen that often. Saudi Arabia, like I said, the major Shia, now they call themselves Wahhabi, but they have the two most holy sites of Islam: United Arab Emirates, an OPEC member. And what most people don't realize is a little rift between Iran and Russia when Russia supported the United Arab Emirates and some of the Gulf states in, I think, an island border dispute. Russia kind of sided with them. So that's what we're looking at. These countries are coming together. A lot of countries are coming who are being brought together, and they're now having a lot more interaction, especially under the BRICS. I do not think BRICS is the Gog coalition. Gog coalition is going to be led by Rush, be led by Gog, the Prince of Rosh, Chief Prince of Misha and Tubal, with all the allies. So BRICS just doesn't seem to fit into those categories. Now, one of the reasons we talked about why they could be coming against them, the Jewish temple. There's been a lot of rumblings about the Jewish temple. A lot of things. Well, we want our part. You hear about since they have a very conservative government under Netanyahu. This is probably the most conservative government Netanyahu has ever held, and he's considered center right. But there's a government he has, a coalition he has, is very right. And there's a desire to build the third temple. And with this third temple, we got to consider where the world is today, where they are as far as tolerance, as far as what they call wokeness. And will this temple include animal sacrifices? What's going to happen to the animal rights activists if you have the third temple or third most holy site of Islam right beside each other doing animal sacrifices? Will this protest cause the UN to condemn Israel even more? Will there be sanctions? We don't know. But there has to be something that makes Israel seem like it's a plum target where it's weak by its traditional allies. Plus, what will the carbon footprint be of this huge construction project? Because if you look at what they consider the temple, how big it's going to go, not just the temple, but all the outer courts in the area, what will the footprint of this be? Plus, I want you to think about it. Have animal sacrifices. You have to have wood fires on the altars. Now, just recently, I just saw today where the American government, the Biden administration, is now going to have higher energy efficiency ratings on ceiling fans. So there, if we're talking about ceiling fans, what will an outdoor wood fire cause? So we're seeing where these things could happen. Animal rights, carbon footprint, green energy, Green New Deal. The Greens are a political party throughout most of Europe, and I think, please correct me if I'm wrong, Cornel West is on the ballot of 17 to 18 states, and he is running as president under the Green Party. So we're seeing how the Greens are becoming much more politically active, becoming much more of a force. And could these be a tipping point in how America and how the traditional allies are handling Israel? Now, let's let's look at Ukraine. Now let's veer. We're going to have to go off a little bit. The Ukraine war. This is not a prophecy channel. I'm not going to say what I believe. This is an analyst channel where we take a historical and current trends and see where we are heading. Winston Churchill, and I know I'm going to butcher it. It's not going to be a direct quote, but I'm going to do the best I can, because I was told one time by a very wise man, if someone says something better than you, let them. Winston Churchill, if you want to know where you're going, look back. Look back at the past, and you can probably look at a little bit more at the future. I hope I'm saying it correctly. Now, once again, I am not a Russian apologist, but I don't see how Russia could lose to Ukraine. I've just heard some news reports where they're saying, hey, we'll fight this for decades. They're looking at it as a slow wearing down, not just of the Ukrainian army, but of the Western will. This is not necessarily a battle. And yes, it is a battle of armies, but it is a battle of wills. The Soviet Union and Russia have seen what America has done in the past. They saw that America was in Vietnam, and then they saw America leave Vietnam. They saw America in Iraq. They saw America leave Iraq. Saw America in Afghanistan for 20 years. But sooner or later, they know the West attention will turn. We will get tired of giving treasure. I think the last estimate, the last gift of military weapons, humanitarian aid, and all the other aid was $24 billion going over to Ukraine. They know that the West cannot do this. We will get into a debt doom loop if we keep doing this. I don't see how Russia can lose in Ukraine with that mentality. We are going to be here until everyone else leaves. So what I'm looking at, Russia cannot lose Ukraine war and attain also the following of a large coalition. Most countries do not follow losers. These countries are receiving, if you look at it, these countries, what we look at in the thing, have received at one time or another, either under the old Soviet Union or even under Russia, food, aid. They are receiving something from Russia already. And they are seeing Russia, one of the most sanctioned countries in the world, surviving and standing up to, their words, not mine, the imperialist West. The Russia economy is not only surviving, it is growing. And now there has also been other sanction regimes against Iran, Persia, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon have had some sanctions. And once again, I said they're part of the Persian Empire. Libya has been sanctioned. Sudan, Kush has been sanctioned, been under United States sanctions. I see a biblical, historical, and current trend that something must happen for Russia to leave the BRICS and strike out on their own. And then other countries that have bound their hearts, have bound their national interests with Russia, will then start coming together, coalescing together, and forming their own coalition. Because right now, China is leading the BRICS, and China and Russia are former adversaries. Look at throughout their history, the Tsar and the Emperor of China, then under Stalin and Mao, they did get together for a while, but under Khrushchev, they broke off, and there was a Sino-Soviet split. They almost went to war a couple times along the border. So these are, because of the United States antagonists to Russia and to China, we are bringing these nations together, a very unusual marriage. I've even heard some commentators say a very unusual adultery coming together, because these two nations do not usually come together. Where they say politics make strange bedfellows, but we might say let's just put them together. Right now, Russia and China are having an affair of convenience. These two old rivals. Well, we're going to stop right here. We did get through 11. We'll do 12. We'll do 12 of. I probably will do it maybe tomorrow, maybe even Monday. But until we see each other again, this is Pastor Jeff for End Times Analysis. Maranatha, my friends.